Welcome back, everybody, to episode 5 of the Enrichment Science Podcast. I am Jason Crean, and I'm joined by my co host, Lara Joseph. And we thought this would be a timely episode to do with so much food in the house, so many people in the house, this time of year, and talk about enrichment and what we need to keep in mind during Thanksgiving. Those of you that don't know us, uh, Lara, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lara Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. I'm a professional animal trainer, behavior consultant, and enrichment specialist that focuses on using the science of behavior known as applied behavior analysis with all species of animals.
And I'm Jason Crean. I'm a biologist and professor. I teach animal nutrition at the university level, among other topics. And I am also the lead formulator for biodiversity bird blends, where we focus on offering enrichment consistently to birds. So my big push always is whole food. I think that it's very clear that if you want the best possible source of nutrient, you're going to go for whole untouched foods. And this time of year, there's a lot of choices. And we'll talk about color later, but when you see a diversity of color, that means that usually translates to a diversity of nutrients. So, Laura, you put a picture in here that looks delicious.
Yes, isn't that so pretty? That's a picture of not all the food, but some of the foods I have in my kitchen sink that I'm washing to begin to prepare for chop. It's very festive looking. It's pretty, and like you said, the diversity in color. Um, Thanksgiving for people is all about coming together. It's all about food. And we wanted to put this podcast together for you to help you generate ideas throughout this week as you're preparing um, and present a wide variety of enrichment to your animals. And we're getting ready to get into this, such as gourds, pumpkins, the scrap seeds inside, leftovers, a bunch of different things. We're about ready to show you some photos and videos and ideas.
And this is floating because you're presumably washing the produce before prepping
Oh,
it.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
It's in my kitchen sink. Yep, full
Yeah.
of water.
So what research is telling us is baking soda is highly effective in ridding uh, produce from pesticides and fungicides. There's figures as high as 99%. I typically use about a teaspoon per liter of water, soaking everything for about 10 to 15 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes, and then a light scrub. The combination of scrubbing and soaking with a surfactant like baking soda is what research tells us is most beneficial. A lot of people use vinegar. Vinegar is an acid, so it's not going to be as effective as a base like baking soda is in ridding these items from pesticides. So definitely consider doing that. Apples in particular.
The question, Jason, you just use baking soda?
Yep.
And then what do you scrub it with? Do you scrub it with your
I
hands?
have,
Do you agitate?
yeah. So I mean, you don't want to scrub an individual cranberry, right? That like if you need a new hobby if that's something that you're doing. But those if you put them in a colander and you agitate them, the friction of them rubbing against each other will basically double as scrubbing.
Okay.
Do that with grapes, do that with berries, things like that. Um, and then I have a green Scotch pad, just a plain green Scotch pad that I reserve for my produce only that I use on everything else. And I remember doing a talk, I think it was a Parrot Festival years ago, and somebody was in the front row and he looked like he was upset with me and I was starting to get worried. And he came up to me after and I was like, oh no. And he said, I used to work for Dole and what you said, like those surfactants don't work in and of themselves. You need to double it with scrubbing, and that's what we found in our work. So, from that point on, I make sure to stress both are better. Even if it's organic, you can have a lot more things growing on things that are organic. So it's important that you're doubling up with the, surfactant and scrubbing.
Okay.
Apples in particular, the pesticides will seep into the peel, so it's important that you soak to get rid of as much of that as possible. Karen Becker told me, Dr. Karen Becker, if you're not following Dr. Karen Becker, the veterinarian online, you really should consider doing so. But she told me years ago, like we can't avoid the chemicals. It's not possible to avoid the chemicals anymore, even in organic. And so it's important that we're focusing on detoxifying the environment, and this is a really good step, making sure your produce is as clean as possible.
Good. I like
And
that. Oh,
yeah, and apples are great. And as most people know, biting into a Red Delicious is not the same as biting into a Granny Smith. There's actually like 7,500 different types of apples that have strains that have been developed. We only typically see about 12 in grocery stores today, but it has to do with how their cells are situated and how much sugars they contain. So Red Delicious is very fibrous, great choice for birds, lower in sugar, versus a Granny Smith or a couple others that would be higher sugar content. All are great, all have benefits, but I'm always big on fiber when it comes to feeding animals. So apples are great, um, Red Delicious especially.
okay.
Lemurs.
Yes. So, this time of year when certain type of foods are just so plentiful, there's a lot of different ways that you can present these to the animals. I know you're gonna see slides that I put in here that show a wide variety of different species of animals and, how they interact with them. I start with what the animal can do, the species can do, then I'll look at the individual animal and I'll present it from there. That's pretty much all I have to say about this slide.
Yeah, and I mean, uh, pumpkins are just like the perfect vessel. I mean, rich in beta carotene, which is converted to vitamin A in the body. Um, It's fibrous, it's colorful, it has delicious raw seeds inside that birds in particularly like. Um, but lots of different ways to present it as well. I took this picture at the grocery store because all of this is good for something like a parrot. Um, Cutting these things into different shapes. I know people take those little pumpkins and they'll just kind of hit them with a metal straw to just put some holes in it, and then they'll stick things in those holes, or just cut them across so that the seeds are exposed and let their bird have at it. Just so many different ways to do this. Corn is another one. If you can get fresh Indian corn, that's great. That's considered a flint corn. Flint corn is something like popcorn where it's got a really tough endosperm, that really tough coating on it. We use the blue Hopi Indian corn that the Hopi Indians have developed over countless generations, and we use that to sprout. They sprout beautifully. They're up at the top, and they have 20% more protein than a yellow corn. So you're going to get less sugar and better protein and fiber. So the blue corn is something that is great, but you can, get fresh Indian corn. All those different colors are fun for birds.
Yep. So this slide, I wanted to show the challenge and how we present it to different species of animals. A lot of times, if you're presenting the whole pumpkin or gourd, a lot of times animals will need a place to start for those that can't chew through that gourd. So we put different size holes in it. Like for those lemurs, you saw that we cut it across. Lemurs aren't fabulous with their hands, so we would have drilled larger holes in the sides. But here is do you have to hit play or do I? Yeah, I can't hit it. Um, a bunch of quadrimundis. interacting, presented it in a couple different ways. They have a great sense of smell. Um, and you'll see here, there's one that's got his whole body, upper body in it. He's not coming out, while the other ones are still continuing to stick their nose in those holes because they can. And if they want, the challenge is there that they can start chewing and make those holes bigger.
Yeah, and I mean, this is biologically appropriate foraging, taking the animal's natural history into account, right? You've got specific size holes in these pumpkins that will let these coatis use what they have, right? Use their tools
Hmm.
to engage. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and they
Um,
use their hands a lot too, so they can start
mhm.
digging.
Yeah, I've had coatimundi, and they're incredibly difficult to keep busy. So anything like this, enrichment wise, is going to be a huge benefit. Um, and you and I talk about skewers being one of the best things in a toolbox, enrichment toolbox. And this may not look like a challenge, but if you hang this in the middle of the cage where an animal has to reach for it or hang, um, this is a challenge. So, plus, if they want to get to something underneath one of these other layers, they have to move it and lift it. So, there's lots of challenge just presented in and of itself right here. And when you think about offering different types of produce, um, two halves of a pumpkin with something in between it on a skewer that can be really engaging for a long period of time.
Sure, and I just wanted to say one more thing because I was telling Jason right before this started, we've got small gourds on skewers in our parrots' cages now, and I must have deleted the photos, but another way to increase the challenge, you can drill. We presented it whole on a skewer with different substrates stacked on top and on bottom. Um, the one day they tore right into them. The next day, when we presented again, they didn't. So you can drill holes in the sides. You can even place them on the ground. You can drill through them, attach them to the side of a cage, hang them on the skewer with things on top of it, underneath it, to help increase that challenge. So I showed this because this is Milo. Um, our pig, and a couple of different things I used to do for him, just taking while I'm preparing food. And this can be presented to a lot of different species of animals. I would take a little bit of water, I would add the juices from the different fruits I was using, add it into that water. These are small little Tupperware containers. Add some different food as I'm sitting there preparing the birds' food, preparing Thanksgiving dinner. With anybody knows me, knows I don't cook Thanksgiving dinner. So, and then stick these cubes in the freezer, and then you can um, just pop them right out. You could this ball on the right is called a holy roller. We use that on so many different species of animals, and you can even pop these cubes right into there to help increase complexity with the species of animal that's foraging.
Yeah, and I mean that's capitalizing on natural behaviors from pigs because they trudge through dirt, they roll things. So, getting them to move, having to try to eat something that's moving all the time is a challenge in and of itself, which is great.
So, with this slide, just wanted to say, as we're making our Thanksgiving dinners, preparing, somebody in the house is preparing something. Um, Instead of throwing things away, we can look at different things we can use to wash out and recycle, stick in their enclosures. We do this all the time. We have a bin full of different size containers that throughout the week that any of us are using, we'll wash them and present them to birds or different animals in different ways. And here you'll see containers on a skewer. We use skewers a lot because they're just so easy to put together, and you can make that enrichment piece wide and still on the same single skewer. Um, there's these are screw-on caps, so we use a lot of golf ball wiffle balls too. Those can easily string on skewers, or we've shoved things in the golf ball wiffle ball, then put it inside the container, and then drilled holes, and then we sand those holes down, depending on the species we're presenting this to, and then let the animals go to town. Keep those beaks and mouths busy. Because if they're busy foraging, they're not busy screaming.
Yeah, doing anything else. And yeah, I mean, a skewer, honestly, I mean, it's so incredibly simple. If you don't have a lot of time in the morning, you can literally just grab a few, like grab a bag of sweet peppers from the store and just impale a few of them on a skewer and throw it in. And, that bird is great for a while. Just start where you can, but then as you develop the complexity, then your bird will develop better foraging behavior. So, do what you can, but that skewer is such an easy tool. It's so
Yeah.
easy to stab a few things and throw it in the cage.
And I want to say with that too, I mean, if you don't have a lot of time, skewers are fabulous. Skewers are
Yeah.
fabulous if you do have a lot of time. If you don't,
Mhm.
just instead of throwing things away, just collect them on the counter and um, quickly put them together on a skewer for those who are really short on time. The reinforcer behind you continuing to add to it is going to be coming home, or in seeing what the animal did to it throughout the day. And that's going to be the reinforcer behind you. It's going to shape your level of complexity of slowly making it harder, more of a challenge for the animal.
Yeah. And this picture on the right is a Cape parrot chick who is just learning to forage, still very young. And, this is what got him engaged. Like, this is what got his attention and got him to start picking at things instead of just presenting a convenient bowl of food there. So, starting meeting animals where they're at. This was where he was at, and then we grew. We continued to grow in complexity as time went on.
So, I have a fabulous enrichment team here, and we're constantly saving things. So, I wanted to show a couple of different substrates of what we use. These are to-go cup containers, looks like from a fast food restaurant. What the volunteers did with them, how they put them together. All of these are for parrots. And I wanted to say this time of year, we're preparing for Christmas as well. Some different substrates we use. Some of our volunteers are vet techs, so they save the vet wrap cores for us. There's so much you can do with those.
Mhm.
We're saving bottle caps, those little twisty caps that come on those to-go individual yogurts, depending on the species of animal. They love that. The core of the Christmas paper, that's a harder um, cardboard, and you can either chop those into pieces, leave them long. You can leave them long lengthways, drill through them, and use them as a super thick skewer that parts and pieces are hanging from. We use the egg cartons. And like I said, the plastic containers. Um, if I just had one of the volunteers text this morning saying she had a huge box that could be saved for enrichment. That's enrichment for certain species. I would not use that for a parrot, especially a parrot in the home. So I wanted to show. Um, We don't provide boxes as enrichment for our parrots. I mean, if we do, they're like small 2 inch by 2 inch
Mhm.
boxes. Not something that they can see a huge cavity and look at it as a nesting cavity, because if these are parrots in your home, a lot of times that can reinforce a lot of different undesired behaviors. nesting behaviors, which can now you're dealing with a bird that's being protective of the environment. You're not going to get that box out of there. So what we'll do with boxes is, and I showed this on the picture on the right, we'll cut them into pieces. We'll use them in different enrichment, different ways. You'll see the toy on the left is a ball that somebody has increased complexity. Not only have they put food items inside, they've also added crinkle paper and how they've shoved the cardboard pieces. This is what we do with our box pieces. On the one all the way on the right is a baffle cage, and we've done this for years. Line it with those cardboard pieces. So the bird has to chew through it to see what's inside the cage. And the one in the middle is a cardboard, uh, um, a paper towel core that we just cut into pieces. This particular one, it's on a small skewer. Looks like it's for Rocky. Rocky likes to untie knots and pull the beads off. So they were trying to increase complexity for Rocky.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the tray carriers that you have there, those are so amazing to use. You can actually just take one and fold it so that it's fold it in half so that it's enclosed. I've got birds that just love those. Um, but yeah, there's so many different things. Those baffle cages are another enrichment tool that I think everybody can benefit from
Yeah.
uh,
In,
pretty
in
readily.
in almost every species of animal, we provide
Yeah,
these baffle
absolutely.
cages for so many different species of animals.
I've seen stainless used with dogs and cats with raw bone inside so that they have to lick, and it keeps them busy. Um, I know I've seen that before with the stainless steel baffle cages, but yeah, with the boxes, parrots should not climb into anything, including your sweatshirts, including boxes, I mean, whatever it is. If they get inside of something and they get cozy, that triggers hormonal behaviors. I see this every single day. And people think there's a lot of people that think it's cute that they're going inside of a happy hut or a tent or a box,
Sure.
but then it just triggers so many terrible things. And then I see people online every day saying, well, how do I get my bird to stop laying eggs and all this sort of thing? I mean, in the last week, I've got 3 contacts from people who are like, how do I stop this? And the first question I ask is, are you giving them something to sleep in? And the answer is always yes. So we have to stop anthropomorphizing, thinking like we like it cozy, so they must like it cozy. It's not good for them. It just isn't. So don't love your bird to death. Give them something that's appropriate. But we use foraging boxes all the time, but they're never bigger than, you know, 6 inches. They can't crawl into anything.
Yeah.
So presentation can take on all kinds of forms. I put carrot tops in there because carrot tops are amazingly nutritious, but how we offer them, you don't have time. Great. Grab a few carrots from your refrigerator with the tops on them, throw them on top of your bird's cage and walk away. Let them pull through. I have seen canaries go crazy for these. Um, I've seen all kinds of birds go crazy for these, and they're really, really healthy. So not don't throw away the carrot tops. You can definitely use those. Using cookie cutters to cut other things like raw sweet potato, raw beets, things like that. Another great way you can cut different types of shapes, put them on skewers, give them to your birds. Even the part that in the middle picture with the pumpkins, like on the sweet potato, you can use that ring that's left over to now use for something else as well for enrichment. So you can use really a lot of different things. I love using peppers with the seeds inside and then adding things so that it's like a cup. Throwing that on a skewer is great because then the bird can, pull. I'm babysitting someone's conure right now, and that bird, the first thing it goes for is peppers. First thing, pepper seeds. Loves them. Just this little tiny green sheet conure, and it's got this huge pepper ring that it's carrying around the cage and just destroying it. So, lots of different ways to form enrichment, but all of this is healthy. They don't need unhealthy foods for them to like you. There are so many healthy choices, hundreds and hundreds of different things that you could be offering birds. They don't need that unhealthy, thing off the Thanksgiving table when you have all of this stuff available to you.
Yeah. And your picture of the carrot tops reminded me, and we were just talking about this. It is November 24th, and parsley is still growing. We've
Yes.
had snow, we've had ice,
Yeah.
and it is still growing and thriving out there. And I have big bird, small bird. Um, a lot of people think this is just for small birds. I'm telling you, because we have so much of it, I just go out, chop it down, cut it up, or I didn't even cut it up. I don't, I think I put a zip tie around it, hung it from um, a chain, and keep offering just because you don't think a bird is going to interact with it. Don't stop offering it. Offer it once
Don't
in a
give up.
while. You'll see their taste, their preferences change.
Yeah, so many of the herbs are just they're so great to offer birds because they're getting so many of their senses. Um, how do I say it? So many of their senses are attuned to some of the things like smell, tactile, um, taste, like it's all there with
Visual.
herbs. So there's
Yeah.
so many great benefits to herbs, and they're so easy to grow. Like so many herbs you can throw in the ground and walk away. I mean, you don't have to, if you have a brown thumb, I've seen people grow herbs without a problem. So, and even year round, like you can grow them on a windowsill in your home. So there's lots of different ways to add a few of those leaves here and there. I let my basil go to seed so that they have those seed pods. And when you say small things aren't necessarily for small birds, most of the big birds that we have eat tiny, tiny things in the wild. That's why they have that tongue that's incredibly adept at manipulating. I mean, I think we've talked about it before. Cockatoos eat these they shave these pods so they can get to this itty bitty tiny seed, and that's so for some cockatoos, like that's the main staple of their diet. So don't feel like you have to just give your large birds big things. They need the challenge of small things, which is why so many go for pepper seeds, because that's probably a pretty recognizable sized item for them to eat.
And chia seeds. Chia seeds
Yeah.
are tiny, and we buy it by the big bag. And Rico, my umbrella cockatoo, loves those teeny tiny seeds.
Yeah.
He likes to take them and pop them.
Yeah. Yeah. Flax,
Yep.
chia, hemp hearts. I mean, all of those are very small millets, different types of millets. I mean, I avoid white millet. That makes up a lot of, the lower quality bird mixes out there because it's kind of a cheap filler. But there's so many types of millets out there that are beneficial. So lots of different things that you can offer, but keep in mind what these birds do in the wild, and a lot of it is burrowing through big things to get to small things. And that's probably why peppers are popular, but
Yeah, so I love chickens. I've wanted chickens for a long time. I've trained several different chickens. I love training chickens. Did I say I love chickens?
yes.
But so it is so fun. They are so fun, quirky animals that can figure things out quickly. And I wish I had a backyard full of, well, full of two chickens. Um,
Yeah.
because I love preparing enrichment for them. I know I put this video in here and I forgot what it was. Oh, yeah.
This
Just
is great.
and you can present this in so many different ways. This is pretty simple. I mean, the wobbling of the stick back and forth does or present a small challenge, but I
Yeah.
love hanging things because you'll see in an upcoming video I put in here how that hanging. I mean, imagine if this apple was hanging, they'd go to peck it and it's going to swing over here.
Yeah.
And that
And I've
reminds
seen
me,
I've seen a lot of enrichment like that for chickens.
yeah, yeah. That just reminds me we should talk about PVC enrichment in the future. Okay.
Yeah, the and that ball that Milo the pig was using, I've seen that hung from a chain with chickens, so that they have to pull things out of that. Everything requires enrichment of some kind, and um, even though a chicken may have enrichment by avoiding predators outside, they still have they still have opportunity should have opportunities for dietary enrichment like this. And that apple's a challenge because like they need to break it open to get to the flesh, and what do they have to do that with? Just their beak. So that's really capitalizing on what their natural adaptations are.
Yep. They're too smart to just be sitting in a coop.
Yeah, people don't give chickens enough credit for sure, definitely.
Or pigeons.
Yes.
Um, so complexity in presentation. This is where here's another example of talking about why I like things on a chain. Pigs will always eat. They will not stop eating. So to slow down that eating and keep their focus, what I did was take a small um, cob of corn, wrap it in, this is dried corn. I wrapped it in a wet paper towel, threw it in the microwave, let it pop for, I can't remember, a minute, 2 minutes. Um, and some of that corn popped. And I like the complexity, especially, I mean, pigs are anatomically, I always call it funky, kind of like they were the Tasmanian devil, their body shape reminds me of a pig.
They're like a
Um,
bulldozer.
yes, yes. So anyways, they can't lift their head very high, but you can, I mean, we've done this with Milo, where we present hanging enrichment. He can see it, but he can't get to it because it's too high. So he's got to figure out the platforms we've set up next to him, how to get up that high. And we don't make it simple. But this is just one different way we can provide some of these foods as enriching.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention the holidays are a time for social enrichment with the animals in our homes, in our care. This can stress a lot of people out, especially people that I get on my end that I hear, especially people living at home with dogs, with birds. It's a time where visitors and family and visitors can reinforce all kinds of undesired behaviors that they think is fun at the time, and then they get to go home and leave you with all the behavior issues that you have to contact me about. So it's if you think about people coming in your home and through the science of applied behavior analysis, it doesn't just work with our animals, it works with the people as well. And what do you want the people to do instead? Instead of teaching your animals how to scream, how to jump, how to bark, how to beg, what I do is pick some really simple behaviors and tell the visitors, hey, this animal knows how to do this. Every time you hear the bird say this, deliver this. Every time you see the animal do this, deliver this. Make it super simple. We just talked the last episode was on environmental enrichment. All of these people coming into your home can be environmental enrichment. Um, so make it simple to teach the people what you want them to do. And when the animal does the behaviors that you tell them the animal will do, what I have found was the reinforcer for the people to pay attention was seeing the animal do what I told them it was going to do. Um, and this is the importance of keeping the animals used to change because they're not used to 30 people in the house at once. This way, it's not a big stressor. Um, Set the animals up so it's hard for people to teach your animals undesired behaviors and easy for them to teach desired behaviors.
Yeah, and there's always a level of education. I know people that have treat bags ready for visitors and saying this is what the animals can have while you're here. Give them one now and then, but that way they're not, and there's a no human food, no table food rule, because some people think it's cute and some people think, oh, it's just a treat, just a treat. And that's how people justify bad choices. There's no such thing as just a treat when a little tiny bit of food can have a big impact on smaller, animals with smaller body masses. So,
Yep.
yeah, so there's a level of education on what people should and shouldn't do as visitors. They're the visitors. Your animals are not the visitors, so they need to be treated
Yeah.
accordingly.
Yep. And you need to respect the animals' homes. I know when I'm down to one dog, when I had three, when people would come over, I would ask all my dogs to go into the crate. The dogs love their crates. They're sitting with the crate door open. The only thing I would tell people is do not approach the crate. Just do not approach the crate when a dog is in it. Um, and people are like, why are you having your dogs go into crates? And I'm like, to prevent you from teaching them all kinds of undesired behaviors
Uh,
that I'm going to have to modify as soon as you leave. It's just respect for the person's home.
yes, yes, and for the animal's well-being. I mean,
Yeah.
it really comes down to that. That's all that matters. Um, I've seen so much when it comes to people thinking something's cute and reinforcing it inadvertently, and then that behavior's there to stay. So it's like, that takes a lot of work to undo something like that.
Yeah. That's called keeping the peace in my house.
Yeah. So, speaking of do's and don'ts, so healthy whole foods are definitely the way to go. That means that you're not feeding them off the table. Avoiding cooked, warm, or mushy foods to pet birds is critical. That triggers hormonal behaviors. The Association of Avian Veterinarians have agreed with this. They put out something last year that's like, don't feed your birds cooked, warm, or mushy foods. It triggers too many terrible things. Um, just because you like them, just because you find it a comfort food, does not mean it's appropriate for your animals. So healthy whole foods, there's hundreds of choices to make your animals happy. You do not need to give them something bad as a treat. Don't make that choice. And make sure that species appropriate food items. Cranberry sauce in a can, that's not real food. Like that's not real. Cranberries, whole cranberries, which are very cheap and easy to get at the grocery store right now, definitely appropriate food. And you can do all kind. You can float them in their water and let them pick them out. You can freeze them in ice cubes, like Lara said. There's all kinds of things you can do with foods like that, but make sure it's whole food. Don't feed them processed things like that other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it? This is because I just don't know. What is the canned cranberry? What is it then if it's not real cranberry?
It's a slurry of things. Um, yeah,
It's
it's
not,
not real. It's not actual cranberries. It's cranberry sauce. So it's like made of other stuff, including sugar, which we want to avoid. So if you want to give them cranberries, just give them cranberries. Don't give them stuff that, isn't real food. Um,
yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of cranberries, thinking outside the box, I give cranberries as enrichment in target training for Stan, my fish.
mhm.
We used to throw cranberries into the gator ponds. Um, yeah, it was fun. We used to throw pumpkin gourds in there as well. We threw all
Yeah.
kinds of things in there.
I mean, anything that changes the environment, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Yeah, it says cranberry sauce is made from cranberries, a sweetener like sugar, and often juices. Common additions include other things, so they make it into a jelly basically with all that sugar. So just give them cranberries. They don't need all that extra sugar.
yeah.
Um, Differing presentations. So we show you some examples, but maybe your bird just doesn't want something on a bowl in a bowl. Maybe it needs it hung. Maybe it needs it, um, I personally love throwing large things on top of the cage, like large collard green leaves or banana leaves that I grow here, or kale leaves, things like that that they have to pull through to get to. Weaving those things through the cage bars, is another easy tool that takes you seconds to do, but gives your bird or other animals, depending on what you're feeding,
We
some
need to
nice
have an
things.
upcoming presentation on contra freeloading
Yeah.
because and we'll talk about this in the future, it's when the animals prefer to work for their food versus taking identical food at less effort. And
Mhm.
I see it. This is one of the main reasons what got me into what I do. And it's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. They need we want their bodies working, but their mind has to be working. Like both of those we have to make sure that we're looking at the mind and the body at all times when it comes to enrichment. Like I said earlier, educate visitors about what's appropriate. Um, you know, Setting ground rules for things that they might think is cute is not appropriate and can leave you with a hefty emergency veterinary bill. I hear from vets all the time that are like, we see more emergency cases over the holidays than most other times, and a lot of that has to do with animals getting into things that shouldn't be available to them.
Yeah.
Um, when you're shopping for the holidays, pick up a few extra items. If you're going to be baking a squash for the family, grab another one that you can feed raw with the seeds to your birds. Um, some of these things freeze beautifully too. Squashes and pumpkins and things like that. You can prep them and freeze them in like sealed Ziploc bags or whatnot, and that will increase their shelf life as well. So, just think about that. Freezing cranberries. If your bird is a cranberry fanatic, whatever it takes. But don't, like I said, offer the cooked warm or mushy foods. No animal meats or bones to pet birds. If you have a vet that tells you that that's okay, you need to find a new vet. I'm not going to apologize for that statement. Um, we see way too many birds eating these chicken bones and eggs and things like that. These are not appropriate foods for birds. And cooked bones of any kind, especially when it comes to dogs and cats, um, should not be offered. Raw bones are, if you look at raw beef knuckles, that's a great way to get your dog chewing and, cats too, chewing and keeping their teeth clean. Do some research, look into Dr. Karen Becker when it comes to raw bones for dogs and cats. But pet birds do not need animal meat. They do not need bones. That can lead to all kinds of problems. Avoid them altogether. Salty and highly seasoned foods, obviously, we want to avoid. And like I said, there's no such thing as just a treat. That is an excuse for bad choices. So just because it's unhealthy doesn't mean you can offer it in moderation. There is no moderation when it's
Mm.
unhealthy. And somebody posted something in a group, a bird group, and on Facebook, and they said something to the effect of, "Well, my bird loves this." And I said, well, just because birds like something doesn't mean that it's good for them. You really should stick to, appropriate foods. And I had somebody say, well, I'm glad I'm not one of your birds because life would be boring. And I'm like, well, this is what I feed my birds. And of course, I feed dozens of different types of whole foods every day. And I'm like, my birds are totally fine. So just because you're not giving them something unhealthy doesn't mean that your bird doesn't love you, doesn't mean that your animals are unhappy. There's all kinds of ways you can keep them content by using healthy choices. There's literally hundreds of things. And
Yep.
once again, if you have boxes coming in, people bringing you gifts, or you're bringing food home in boxes, do not give boxes to birds in particular that they can crawl into. Just avoid that altogether.
Okay. You said that
Don't
all
love your
very
animals to death. I want to put that on a t-shirt. Don't love your animals to death. You can love them by feeding lots of healthy choices. So, if you're thinking about dietary enrichment this week, you definitely want to think about what's healthy, and not, what's on your table.
good. Yep. So these animals are in our care. And I feel I'm very passionate about this, as you guys may or may not know. I'm all about the utmost well-being of the animals in our care. It's our responsibility, and they deserve that.
Yep. And I take everything I say very seriously when it comes to nutrition. We've seen, so many problems over the years, in particularly with birds, but a lot with, dogs and cats and different types of animals that we're now changing diets and seeing the benefits. So we take this work very seriously. We have a workshop coming up, Lara.
Yes,
Did you
we
know
do.
that?
My notes have started. Do this, start doing this, do this, do this. Uh,
So we're hosting it live at the Biodiversity Bird Blend Shop and Avian Education Center, which is opening this coming Friday, which is Black Friday, or as we call it around here, Black Palm Cockatoo Friday. And we will be hosting it live in person, but we just released a virtual option. The window is short. There's only another week from today to register for these. So you can register at the biobirdblends.com. There's a shop now link at the top. Or you can join us in person. You just need to register online. You'll get a toy making kit, an enrichment kit that you will be talking more about during the workshop. But you definitely want to take advantage of this. Um, Both Laura and I will be presenting, and then we'll be doing the toy making thing. So
yep, yep. So Jason pretty much said it all. So now that we're offering it virtually as well, because we were getting so many people asking for it. So we decided to figure out how, a way to open it up, and it's there, it's ready. The seats will be limited, so you might want to think about joining pretty quick.
And if you're watching this episode and you like what we have to say and want to learn more, you can join either or both of our membership programs. They're both listed on the slide here. Um, Laura, do you want to mention anything about the Parrot Project?
Sure, it's a lot of fun. It's very informative. It's very
It's
informative.
enriching.
The Parrot Project is over 9 years old. It's an annual subscription to an online group where I help people daily. I show recordings. I do live streams of how to train different things. People upload videos of what they're training or what they're having issues with. I will review it, give them my feedback. These podcasts, the Enrichment Science podcast is now it's a weekly podcast that if you're in the Parrot Project, you get every single episode. We have a lot of things going on in the Parrot Project. We do group live streams, we do enrichment, anything behavior training and enrichment, it's there for parrots and other birds.
Yeah. And Team Thrive is my membership program. It's a one-time lifetime fee. And you can access my nutrition courses and get a certificate of completion after you complete those courses. Avian Nutrition 101, 102, and 103 is coming. And so there's lots of perks to that as well. Lots of ideas when it comes to diet and things like that. So consider joining one or both of the programs that are there. You can reach out to us at the emails there, and we appreciate your attention. So hopefully we'll see you for a future episode. Thanks,
Yep.
Laura.
Yep. Thank you, Jason, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.